Hi there and welcome to Lorena's Labyrinth. Today, tonight, wherever you are, thank you for joining me on this journey again. Just a little bit of forewarning. I'm actually recording this video on Saturday night. This is because I'm trying to get ahead of myself and I might not have time to actually do the video tomorrow. So I thought I would do it this evening. And I've decided to change things around a little bit this week with how I approach it. Before I get into it though, of course, just a reminder, if you're new to the channel, my name's Anna and I'm the channel owner here. I am the owner of Lorena's Labyrinth. And of course, my intention is to provide helpful information to people that empowers them in positive ways. So, as I say, thank you to the visitors, new and old. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, of course, the regular plug, feel free to leave a comment. Let me know where you're from. Just simply say anything, because I like to try and connect with people, and that's one of the aims that I'd like to do with the channel, is to personalize the content that I deliver to people in the hope that it will be of benefit to them. But anyway, I'm changing things around today. I'm going to do the chitter chatter at the end of the video rather than at the beginning, and that's because I've got a few things on my mind that I want to speak to you about, but I also want to be mindful of how much time I'm spending waffling, okay? So I'll crack straight on. So in regard to what's new, well, we've just got the normal playlist that I've been putting content up on, and I'll talk about the new videos that have been loaded for this week. But as far as new series and that kind of thing, not at the moment. I'm working on stuff. I do have plans going down the road a little bit, but I'll announce those when I do it. The other thing I want to make mention is there's going to be some changes in regard to numerology and the content that I load there, but I'll talk about that once we hit the numerology slide. So the colour series is going particularly well. I've managed to load and schedule most of the videos now. I've only got 3 more I've got to record the audio on and upload them for the future, schedule them. So it's all a happening thing. So this week, the videos that you will have seen go up for colour include the colour red. Now, when we talk about red, we're talking about a primary colour. And when we talk about primary shades, they link in, of course, with the chakras and what are referred to as the 7 rays. And you would know that if you've seen the videos that I've put up on the power of colour. There's a couple of short videos on there. I think, well, knowing me, they might not be that short, they might be a bit long. But either way, that content's up. So when we talk about the colour red, we're talking about the base chakra. I also have content up on chakras and their specific functions and that kind of thing. But just to reiterate, when we talk about the colour red, we are talking about the base functions such as survival, the needs, say, for food, housing, protection, feeling safe, all of those kind of things, and also power and control, actually. And we would even say there willpower is associated with red. But of course, I've got the full videos up on the Power of Colour playlist, and these are the, what do you call them? These are the thumbnails of what the slides look like. And you could be forgiven for thinking that, oh, skull, it's just red anyway. Well, actually, it's not. If you actually were to mix it up on a palette, it includes a few other different shades, and therefore it has similar properties, metaphysical, and if we were to talk about chromotherapy, it has similar properties to the base red, but because it incorporates these other color blends, it's got links to different chakras than just the base chakra. But you will find more information about these if you go and check out the videos on the Power of Color playlist. And what we've got going up next week, so this is a thumbnail, this is what to look out for. I mean, I've got the notifications to let people know when these videos are made public as well anyway. But next week we've got Ruby going up, and I've got to say, I do find it difficult sometimes to colour match the backgrounds and to get the actual shade of what I'm looking for. So particularly the shade of Ruby that I'm looking at is the one that's more the background. It's got a bit of a garnet colour to it, I guess, would be a way to describe it. And when we talk about different shades of red, because obviously ruby is a red colour, it brings in, you can see just by looking at it, that there's a bit of a purple tinge to it. It's got a little bit of the black within it. Shades and depths and all of that kind of stuff vary by how much of a colour that we put into it. And that's going to affect how that colour actually works within our own energy fields. I think actually at this point I might mention that the colors that we wear reveal so much about us, from a psychological perspective and an emotional perspective as well. I might talk more about that in the chitter chatter, actually. But either way, when we talk about the color of ruby, you can see for yourself that it's a very dynamic color. So it's got some interesting properties that you can see in the video as well. So the video on plum is also going to be made public next week, and I've got to admit, plum is one of my favourite colours. It's a very comforting colour. You can see here it's warm as well, and its associations aren't just physical or psychological strength. These are part of the meanings. You can get the full gist if you watch the video. I don't mean to keep pumping it, but I will. But as you do, right? But when I talk about the colour plum, it definitely does reflect strength as well. People don't realise this, I don't think, but it's not your usual kind of strength. When we think about muscle power, it will obviously have links when we talk about strength to things like muscular strength and psychological strength and this kind of thing, but it's more about spiritual strength, that strength and courage of your convictions or whatever in the divine, and strength of your divine connection. Just as a little bit of info, many years ago, before I even knew about colours, I was really working on my spiritual self, if you like, and I actually was doing a lot of work with angels and angel energy at the time. And so my divine connection was really very important to me, and solidifying it and this kind of thing. But what I had was a beautiful bedspread that was this colour. I still love this colour, and I would still love to actually have a bedspread of this colour, but I lost mine a long time ago. So if anybody knows where I can go to get this colour bedspread, please do let me know, because I'll be making a purchase. So in regard to the numerology, what's going on and what's happening with the numerology channel, or playlist or whatever, is basically, you will have seen now that the names and numbers videos has gone up, and this is about making sense of personality and individual traits. Now, I do recommend that people at least take a look at this, because it reveals so much about who and what we are. And it also, if our name doesn't suit us, or if we want to make some kind of personality change, um, and by that I mean, let's say you're a shy person, you want to be more outgoing. You might be able to influence your own personality and psyche simply by doing a name change. And sometimes it's not even necessarily about changing the name itself, it can be changing the spelling. But anyway, I'm going to try and be quicker. Bottom line is, this content has gone up. I really do suggest and recommend people take a look at it, and then they can start unpacking. They might want to go back through the numerology content. Now, just a reminder, everything I put up is timestamped, so it's easier for you. So if you were to do your calculations and you wanted to go to a video because, say, your ruling number is a 1, or, well, it's not going to be a 1, any of this kind of thing, you could just go back to the video on the playlist and find the part. But actually, I'm just thinking I might actually have to do another video. I hadn't thought about it, but I'll certainly give consideration to it over the next week or so as to whether or not I should do a how to do your own birth chart video and explain to people. Actually, that's probably a good idea. I'm thinking on the hop here today. No notes. But yeah, if you're interested in that, let me know, and I will explain on a brief video how you can do your own numerology report, how you can do it fairly quickly without having to spend a lot of time. We say in Australia, we have certain terminology, buggerizing around, going through things. I'll show you the shortcuts in the video. And the other thing really that is left on the numerology for me to actually give to people, which is probably, in fact, I think the most important thing that a person could access through numerology, but at the same time, I feel there's a certain responsibility there not to actually just spray it all over social media. And this is how to calculate the divine blueprint, and to look at what are the karmic lessons a person is born in with, and what are the karmic lessons for the current lifetime. And that's what we refer to as the divine blueprint. Anyway, there is a way to do it. It's a little complex. It's a little drawn out, shall we say. You have to be accurate when you do it. It's a lot of fun. It's very revealing. Once you've learned how to do it, you'll be running amok with it. The problems that I see with me delivering it in this format is it's about delivering it in an irresponsible way where people can actually tap into other people's birth information. I guess to an extent, you need to have the time of birth to be able to do a numerology report. So maybe not. I will definitely think about whether or not to give this information in a public setting. It might be a case of I'll do the video up and upon request that I provide a private link to people for it. But I'm still to work out how I'm going to do this. So the angel content is coming along really quite nicely. I'm making progress with it, as you know, as I've said more than once. I'm trying to get ahead with the content so I can load it and schedule it so I can get onto this other stuff that I'm doing, which is another project I want to manifest. I'll talk about the manifestation process in the Chitter chatter. But what I'm finding, I just thought I would share this experience with you, is as I do this content, I revisit the information and wisdom that I've been given in the past, and I unpack it and I have to process it. And I find myself calling. I think the magic of angel energy is, if I'm typing up something that says, and call to angel so and so for X, Y, and Z, it's like I've just called to them. This is how quickly and magical that the angel energy responds. Now, I am talking about it in one of the videos I'm putting together today. I think, which one is it? I can't remember now. But it's about it's the one on miracles. I was putting together the video on how to request a miracle, and I'll give you a little bit of advanced tip here, okay? The point is that as we call and we ask, we create what is called a Devic seal. And it's kind of like putting in a phone line, I guess, like, hello, and the more we call, the more that line gets solidified and the quicker the responses are. So I think what I'm finding is that as I do this work on the angel stuff to deliver to you guys, that this Devic seal is being re-cemented because I've been a bit slack for a few years. Hello, I'm human. And where I'm going with this is I'm noticing some really incredible changes happening in my own life. And this is why, look, you'll have to wait until I put the video up on, it's Angel Hamid actually is the one for miracles. But when I put that up, I go into some detail explaining, we call it miracles because it just seems so unfathomable that based on our small self-perceptions that they have these powers that are so responsive and so helpful. But realistically, the miracles are the blessings that we receive. And once we start asking, they start showering, and we do have to ask. So that's just a tip for you in advance. All the content that I put up with angels, with suggestions on how you can ask and what you can do and all the rest of it, even if you don't believe, give it a go, because I guarantee you will start to notice the positive changes in your life. Angels want to give you miracles, or what you think of miracles, because that way you can start to believe and know in your heart. So anyway, cracking on, moving on from my sharing my wonder and awe with you this week. All I can do at this point is tell you that I've got some amazing experiences happening, but because they're part of the manifestation process, I can't share them with you yet. Okay, I'll talk about that more when we get to Chitter Chatter. Now, if you haven't seen it, and I hope that you have, this week what was published was the Angel of Vision content, which is Angel Bashar. Now, when we talk about vision, this is so important because there's different types of vision. So I'll just give you a little bit of a taste test here. There's different types of vision. And of course, the first thing we think of when we think of vision is, oh yeah, I'm going to manifest, so I'm going to get a vision board happening. And that's how we use our vision. Well, that is part of it. We do have to have vision. Visualization is part of the manifestation process, of course. But there are other aspects to vision. There is the fact that we as humans, we kind of have a tunnel vision, we don't see the big picture because we're not fully informed. And if you don't know the questions to ask, this is just the nature of being human, we don't ask the right questions. And so we don't really expand our vision, or our capacity to imagine. Whereas the divine vision is one that's universal, it's far more expansive. And the other thing is that we talk about with this is the difference between the loving vision of the creator and the perception of the world, and also the human perception. So when we look at conflict and challenges, we see that as pain and suffering. However, we can change our perception to be one of divine vision, which is that this pain and suffering that reflects the challenges, these are opportunities in disguise. They're blessings in disguise a lot of the time, but you will get that was two words rolling together there. I was trying to say a deeper, but it came out saying heightened, whatever. By watching the video, you're going to get a far deeper understanding of what it is I'm trying to convey here. And I will move on to the next slide now so that we don't spend too much time on this video today. And what we've got coming up next week is going to be Galil. He is the angel of vibration. Now, the messages that are given to us from Galil in regard to the importance of emotions as part of raising our own personal vibration, they are really important. They're other really important messages. They're very easy to incorporate. And if you can get a handle on raising vibration, this is all part of a manifestation process as well. So I will leave you guys. Sorry about that noise. Turns out I need to charge my phone up. I'll leave you guys to watch that video, but I'll talk about it more in the Chitter Chatter next week. If you've got questions or you want to share your experiences, please do make a comment. As far as art reels go, look, I have got a bit of artwork there. I have been playing with a lot of it as part of putting together the videos and that kind of stuff, but not all of it is actually particularly good quality, and some of it needs to be further developed. Anyway, where I'm going with this is I haven't done an art reel, okay? So if you were looking forward to one, I'm sorry about that, but I have changed the art images here on this particular slide, and of course the quotes are going along as usual. Just a reminder, if there's anybody, if you've got a favourite author or philosopher or something like that, feel free to let me know the name and I'll go and seek out a heap of quotes by them and put together something for the channel, because realistically, while it's not one size fits all when it comes to inspirational or motivational quotes and that kind of thing, the other part of that is that there's always going to be somebody else. If you like something, there will be somebody else that might enjoy the same things that you do. And I'm quite happy to try and accommodate multiple people's preferences. So, if somebody's into Stoics, well, then I can do something about Stoicism and resilience, for instance. If somebody likes the Greek philosophers, I can do a couple of videos about that. Then if somebody wants something more fluffy and is looking at perhaps Brené Brown or somebody, I can do those kind of quotes on a different week. But yeah, anyway, let me know your thoughts if you want me to do anything in particular. So I've quickly knocked up some notes because this is what I wanted to talk about in a little bit of depth, but I'm also aware the video's got long again. So I'm going to try and get through it quick fire, okay? When we talk about colors, shapes, and chakras, this is why I put the content up, because when we talk about empowerment, this is a catch cry word. We talk about empowerment, we talk about building strength and resilience and bringing to conscious awareness things that we can actually resolve. Now, many times when we are feeling disempowered, and this is all of us, we will sit there and berate ourselves. Why didn't I see this coming? We repeat patterns. We fail to read the room, as they say. And often this is about trusting the wrong person, ignoring the signs and all the rest of it. And if we actually really fully immerse ourselves in understanding things like colours and chakras, that goes a long way to stepping into our power, because we're able to really assess a situation. These colours, or the use of colour, can be red flags for us, literally, because because they show us an insight into the person. Now, by that, I have to make mention of the fact that you never look at anything that we do or that we observe in others as being a standalone trait. So I'm going to talk about red and my concerns and cautions with people that have got a real penchants for the colour reds and all the shades of red, actually. I'll talk about that in a moment, but just because a person might be drawn to red doesn't mean that they will have these traits that we need to be careful of, because we will all wear red at different times. Well, most of us will. I've worn a bit of red myself over different. Red's not my favourite colour in the wardrobe, I've got to say. I personally could probably use more of it. Each to their own, okay? Because we wear a colour or we're attracted to a colour because we have a need for it. But the same thing is that energetically, if we're repelled by a colour and we find it unattractive, that will equally indicate that there is an imbalance. So we talk about chakras, that a healthy functioning chakra does X or Y and it's positive, you know? So if we talk about red in the positive as an overall, it is one that helps to support our base financial needs, yes, but also all the base needs, okay? And we all need to keep a roof over our head. We all need to look after ourselves. We all need to have a certain amount of willpower to direct us. We need energy. This all comes from the base chakra and the color red, okay? But if we are using it excessively, then we have an excessively active or an overactive chakra, which then becomes an imbalance. So it will be one or the other. It's either the red chakra is blocked, and that's a problem as well, or the red chakra is overactive. Now, the reason why I say I have a big caution with it is because of the associations with the fight aspect of the base chakra. And I want to point out too that when we talk about red and its healthy use, back in the day, they used to call red a power colour. This is obviously in about the 80s, which is my time frame when I was a young adult. And round about those days, men used to wear suits to work, and they would wear a red tie to show that they were a strong, powerful person. And equally, women in management or politics or that kind of thing, they used to wear the little red suit. And that's kind of making the statement, I am a powerful person. I'm not afraid to use my power. I am strong. And it's like a battle of wits, okay? So it's kind of, when I say a red flag, it's like the whole, if a woman was wearing that red power suit, it would be kind of saying, try me because you will lose, okay? Because they will fight to the death, okay? And it becomes this battle of wits. Now, when we talk about perhaps in the modern context, because it energizes and it activates, if a person is consumed by fears, the power of red for somebody who's really drawn to it, particularly, I guess, a man or whatever, I would be concerned about violence from that man if he is drawn to red. Now, I'm going to go into in a minute that you can actually tell a violent person whether they're wearing red or not once you understand the chakras and when you look at the behaviors. And back in the day, I used to say that I could sniff out violence at 20 paces, and that's just through watching the behaviours of a person. I mean, we can't prejudge a person, but let's use a scenario. I remember being out many years ago. It was actually a situation where alcohol was involved. It was a social gathering, and I was watching the interaction between people, and there was a person that was present that I felt that I did not feel comfortable with, and this was before I'd even got into energy, okay? This all doing Reiki or healing or anything like that. I was just watching this person, and should you know, I'm just thinking as I tell this story, yes, it was before I got into the energy work, but I understood it more later, and I realized that I was, obviously because I was intuitive, but I wasn't consciously aware of my gifts, but I was able to establish that the person was violent because of their behaviours. They had this kill or be killed attitude about them. Not literally, they weren't that violent, but it was, you knew that in the workplace that they would be merciless. They would stab anybody in the back to get to the top of the food chain. They are quite bullying and all of this kind of thing. So we're talking about the really attractive traits, unattractive traits rather. And anyway, where I'm going with this is I quite often find this with people that like red. But the point is, you can't, and when I say like red, I mean over like red. They overuse the colour. We cannot prejudge people and say, okay, that person's got a lot of red in their house, therefore they've got control issues and they're power hungry and potentially a bit ruthless and potentially even violent. We can't jump to those kind of conclusions. What I find is that if I have a conversation with that person, it will generally affirm to me my prejudgment, I guess. I don't walk away feeling safe, shall we say. I never feel safe in that person's presence. Now, that could be simply because of my own past experiences, or it could be, and I would have to determine based on the situation whether or not I would continue to associate with that person. But where I'm going with this is these are the literal red flags. But I want to reiterate too that I'm talking the extreme because I love extremes, okay? I really love to make reference to extremes because I think they're the best way to actually show people different sides of the coin. A little bit of red's okay because, if you had somebody's house, if you went to visit them and their house had lots of white walls or whatever, and then they had splashes of red around, because we're talking about feng shui type stuff, a little bit of red will actually invigorate and energize a space and make it more alive. Okay, so red within scenarios is a good thing. But then I suppose when we talk about feng shui, we talk about the fact that the Chinese generally have this preference for red. But actually, if I was to discuss that, that's a different kind of red. That red is called, I think the pronunciation is vermilion, and so it's not your base primary red. So I think we need to clarify about that. But certainly with that red that they use in feng shui, that is an energizer as well, and it's considered to be a color of activity. But where I'm going with this is you wouldn't restrict yourself if you know the information about red and about colors and the chakras. You can basically start to read people to an extent, and then you would be able to have a conversation with them. You might actually find out more information later on. And not all colors are threatening to people, okay? As I say, with the red, you do have that kill or be killed. It can be associated with anger and violence. Okay, so this is where I've seen it, because I've worked in some pretty, what would you call it? I've worked with people that lived on the streets, is the only way that I can describe it. People from serious violent backgrounds and that kind of stuff who've really been through a lot of bad stuff. I've worked with a lot of them. So I'm quite familiar with violence and violent traits when it gets to that. So anyway, I don't want to end this video talking about the violence and the unpleasant stuff. Where I'm going with this is when we understand other people and what drives and motivates them, and we can get clues to that through the use of color and understanding chakras, then that helps us to connect with them and build healthy relationships. Okay, so if I went to somebody's house, forget the red, put that aside. One house, actually, I'll tell you about this because this relates to me and I'm quite comfortable to speak about it because it's not a bad thing. After I left my husband, I had to go to a couple of different places. Now, I was working with energy at the time. I'd become familiar with it. And the houses, it turned out, anyway, where I'm going with this is it turned out every single house that we ended up moving to, there was this primary colour theme in the house, which was, I think they call it eggshell blue. I think on my colour slides that I'm putting up in the colour videos, it's probably an azure blue. And what is the name of that blue bird that we don't have, but it's in the US? It looks like a cardinal, but it's not a cardinal. But either way, that little blue bird, that was the colour of the walls in every house I went to. Now, I was able to understand that, me being who I am, it was like that was a sign for me that, okay, that's the house for me. And it's because this particular shade of blue is about peace. It's about maternal protection, and it's about feeling, well, divine love, if you like, to call it that. And so for me, it represented safety as well. It was about feeling protected. So, if I went into somebody's house and they had this color up, the first thing I would be asking is, are they a fire sign? Right? Because I'm fire sign. I'm fire and earth. I'm on the cusp. And I know that this particular color is actually very calming for us fire signs. Water signs, incidentally, they need the warm tones. So you might find somebody who's um, even a Gemini, maybe, or a Cancer or something like that. They might go for the oranges because they might need a little bit more passion, but they don't want too much red because that will make them turn into a bubbling furnace. These kind of things, So I hope I'm making it clear to you how colors can be beneficial. I'll save maybe talking about the shapes for another time. Shapes, I don't have a lot of information on that. I just know that I kind of get feelings from shapes if I see shapes, and those shapes become messengers for me as well. But either way, I'm encouraging you to really get to know colors and the chakras. And just remember, whether it's colors or whether it's chakras, the meanings that I have about them might be similar to yours, but they might not be the same. We might have different viewpoints. And it doesn't matter if we do, because that's part of being an individual. But either way, I invite you to leave your thoughts, your comments, and I look forward to catching up with you. I'm going to close this now. It's getting long. Take care, my friends. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful week. Oh, and did I say have a good week? Wishing you many angel blessings. Take care of yourselves. I'll catch you next week. Bye-bye for now.